Oh, did that have? Hey, am I am I on right now? Hey, everybody. Just sitting here talking to Smokey about some of the titles that we have coming up and some of the titles that we wish that were coming up. Yeah. Well, we got one coming up right now that I think you're going to have a heck of a good time with. We call it, well, the title it's under here is Mania. Its original title was The Flesh and the Fiends, 1959. It's a John Gilling film. Now, we've seen some John Gilling product on our show. Gamma People happened to be a film that he worked on and directed and so on. He's known for working in Hammer Studios, did The Reptile, also wrote the screenplay for The Gorgon and The Mummy's Shroud. This is a nice film. I really was taken by this film. This is there's a lot of versions of this tale, or of this kind of tale, that you will see made in England and in the United States. These are the resurrection men, sometimes they're called. Men who dig up fresh bodies to take to the doctors because they need something to experiment on. You know that whole controversy over, should medical men be dallying with these corpses and things like that becomes somewhat of an issue. And it's played out well in this film as well. This is actually somewhat of a documentary. Kind of a semi-documentary, if you will. It kind of tries to sell itself that way at the beginning, talks about how everything in this is true. Well, let's hope it was, or hope that it wasn't. This is the story of Burke and Hare. Burke and Hare were two disreputable British fellows who, well, got into the deal of taking these corpses to Dr. Knox, who's played by Peter Cushing, and making some pretty good money. But the fresher the bodies, the more they got. So, of course, you know how it goes. Burke and Hare are going to be knocking off folks. They justify well the people that they knock off. It's kind of an interesting rationale. After they've killed them, they talk about how, well, they're better off now. Where would an old lady go? Or where would an old man go? Okay, they're better off here, serving medicine and stuff like that. And, of course, filling their pockets with coppers, right? So that they can go off and get drunk all the time. Now, the guy who really... Now, Peter Cushing does a remarkable job in this film. Playing the staid Dr. Knox. He's kind of got this deal with his eye. One of his eyes won't open all the way. So he's kind of got that kind of crooked angle to him. And he kind of turns a blind eye. I don't mean that as a joke, but he turns a blind eye to a lot of where these corpses tend to come from. He knows that they come from, fresh kills, if you will. But he kind of ignores it. And some of his underlings kind of chafe at that whole thing. The guy who really steals the show in this film, well, two guys really steal the show in this film. One, Donald Pleasance. Donald Pleasance plays Hare, William Hare. Now, Donald Pleasance, you might know him from the Halloween films. You might know him from, he's been in a lot of films. Creepers or Phenomenon, he's in the Argento film. He just kind of pops up perennially in horror films. He's one of those type of guys. He's even in Paint Your Wagon, believe it or not, plays the mule skinner in there. But he's a great actor, and he's never given the opportunity to really play his trade. He does in this. Remarkable job of playing one of those, Cockney fellas. He's got that kind of a poetic Cockney accent. The other guy, his partner, William Burke, played by George Rose. He also is a great foil for Pleasance. The two of them are fantastic in this film. Wonderful. And you might know George Rose. He did a BBC production of My Fair Lady. He played Liza Doolittle's father. And he really fits in there. Of course, that whole underworld business is a part of My Fair Lady as well. There's another person in here, too, Billy Whitelaw. Billy Whitelaw plays one of the love interests in this film. And you might know her later on in a very famous role. She plays Mrs. Blaylock in The Omen. Remember Mrs. Blaylock in The Omen? Really a sinister character. She's not sinister in this, but she does have sort of a dual personality thing going in this thing. She's sort of like a party girl, but hooked up with a doctor. And the doctor wants to go serious-like, and she wants to go off and have a good time, and two worlds don't meet too well. That's really what this whole film is about, is the collision of these different worlds. Dr. Knox, kind of trying to ply his trade, is kind of in some trouble with the respected medical men of the town. who finally get a chance to maybe hold something over his head. Likewise, we have a student who's struggling to bring his grades up, who has troubles hooking up with lower class individuals, and he's got his upper class proclivities or his desires. They don't meet. And of course, you've got the great Pleasance or the Burke and Hare figures themselves, who put on great pretenses and airs that are much higher than the life that they actually lead. Remarkable film. The film was shot and produced by a guy named Monty Berman. Monty Berman also shot a film that we have shown on this venue here, the Trollenberg Terror, or The Crawling Eye. The Crawling Eye is as we had presented it. He also worked on The Blood of the Vampires. So it's kind of interesting. He's a producer and he's a cinematographer in the same breath. Remarkable film, Flesh and the Fiends, or Mania, 1959. John Gilling does a wonderful job at this. He captures a great slice of life of that time period when the resurrection men are operational, grabbing those bodies either from fresh graves or, grabbing somebody in an alley and knocking them over the head and delivering them. Film reminded me a great deal of another wonderful film that deals with a similar and even almost the same story to a certain extent, Val Lewton's Body Snatcher, which also references the Burke and Hare story. And of course, Boris Karloff's great role in there. Have a glass of toddy, he's always talking about. Well, I think you're going to enjoy this. Look up and notice Donald Pleasance. I think you will be pleasantly pleased by his performance. Let's roll him, Smokey.